turn off the ignition. Pull on the bonnet release lever and open the bonnet. You should now be able to see the diesel filter, which is located on the left of the battery. Start by disconnecting the electrical connector of the water sensor. To do this, push on the metallic part of the connector with your finger and at the same time pull everything upwards. Using a flathead screwdriver, push on the blue clip and at the same time remove the tube. Using 2 screwdrivers, push on the red parts of the clip and simultaneously lever it off with the screwdrivers. Repeat the operation on the green hose. Put the caps found on the new filter and repeat the operation for the white hose. Position your fingers under the upper washer of the filter and your palms on the metallic framework. Exert pressure upwards with your fingers to remove the filter. Then position yourself over a liquid collection container and turn the filter towards you. Pivot the sensor anti-clockwise. Taking it firmly in your hand, pass your thumb and your index finger under the sensor. Exert pressure upwards and the sensor should come out. You can now empty the filter. Using a thin screwdriver, take out the rubber O-ring of the sensor and replace it with one found in the box of the new filter. To put it back together, it is better to use your fingers and not a screwdriver. This will avoid damaging it. To put the sensor back in place, you have to ensure that it has been fully pushed in. Once in place, you can turn it to fix it in its final position. Start by aligning the lower spur on the filter, then the upper spur. Once in front, apply downward pressure on the whole thing. This will let you to put it back in place. Put each of the tubes back, remembering to respect the color code. Reconnect the sensor. Pump the primer pump until it becomes hard. Operation completed.